Walk down any grocery aisle today, and you will see gluten-free labels everywhere. Millions of people have removed it from their daily meals, convinced that it is quietly damaging their health. But what exactly is happening inside the human body when we eat it? Let's look at what we are actually digesting. Gluten is simply a group of exceptionally tough, tangled proteins naturally found in wheat. Think of it as a piece of highly complex biological cargo. When you eat a piece of bread, this cargo travels down to your gut barrier, or a mucosa. This is your body's primary protective security wall. Its entire job is to scan incoming food and decide what safely enters your internal system. Because gluten is so dense, it takes real physical work to process. But the protein itself is completely neutral. Whether it acts as a helpful nutrient or a dangerous intruder depends entirely on how your personal gut security gate assesses it. To understand how things go wrong, we have to look at how the gate normally works. The individual cells making up your security wall are held tightly together by tight junctions. You can picture these as heavy, locking biochemical doors. These doors do not swing open on their own. The body uses a specific chemical command signal called zonulin. Zonulin acts like a localized keycard. When the gut needs to absorb nutrients, it releases zonulin to briefly unlock and open those tight doors. In a healthy digestive system, the tough wheat proteins are slowly chopped into smaller, manageable pieces. The keycard swipes, the doors briefly open, and the processed cargo glides through safely without alarming the local immune system guards. Your body is naturally equipped with all the necessary machinery to break down and accept these tough proteins. A healthy gut processes wheat cargo entirely seamlessly. So why do some people feel terrible after eating wheat? The security gateway can fail in 3 distinct ways. The first is a rapid response monitoring mistake, known as a wheat allergy. In an allergic reaction, the immune system guards take one look at the incoming wheat and incorrectly identify it as an immediate, severe threat. They trigger an IgE response, which operates like a deafening biological fire drill. The guards dump highly irritating chemicals into the system, causing scary, rapid physical warning signs, like sudden skin rashes or breathing trouble. But while this false alarm is intensely uncomfortable, it is a temporary mistake. The local guards are entirely focused on the cargo, leaving the physical security wall structurally completely intact. The second type of failure is entirely different and much more dangerous. This is celiac disease, an autoimmune disorder where a genetic error causes the body's defense network to attack its own tissues. Here, the incredibly tough, undigested gluten pieces pile up at the gates. They deeply irritate the lining, forcing the release of massive amounts of that zonulin keycard. The tight junction doors are wedged open, and the protein fragments leak deeply into the body's private internal tissues. Once inside, the leaked fragments are intercepted by genetic identity scanners, known as HLA markers. These specific markers lock onto the modified gluten pieces and flag them as catastrophic internal dangers. This trips the ultimate alarm. Highly aggressive immune cells flood the area and release toxic signals that physically dismantle and flatten the delicate finger-like projections of the gut lining itself. This structural destruction ruins the body's ability to absorb vital food. There is no biological off switch for this attack. The only way to power down the alarm and allow the doors to rebuild is strict, permanent avoidance of the gluten trigger. For an individual with celiac disease, a speck of wheat activates a devastating self-destruction protocol. In this specific scenario, a strict gluten-free diet is a critical, non-negotiable medical necessity. There is a third, much slower type of gate malfunction called non-celiac wheat sensitivity. You can think of this one as a frustrating, slow-moving traffic jam at the border. People with this sensitivity do not possess the genetic markers for celiac disease, so their bodies are not attacking their own walls. Instead, a weakened local bacterial ecosystem allows tiny leaks. The local security guards get highly agitated by the lingering cargo, creating a slow, low-grade inflammation. This localized irritation causes real distress, generating painful physical indicators like severe bloating and profound fatigue. Even though the wall avoids permanent autoimmune destruction, the compromised barrier struggles to process the heavy cargo, and removing wheat removes the pain. If you do not have an allergy, celiac disease, or a sensitivity, you might wonder if skipping gluten is still a good idea. To answer that, we travel past the security gates and deep into the large intestine. Here, we find the microbiome, a highly dynamic adaptation ecosystem. This deep inner garden is filled with billions of helpful bacterial families, like Bifidobacterium. To survive and actively defend your body, these tiny workers require a very specific food, the complex, indigestible dietary fibers found abundantly in whole wheat. When these beneficial bacteria consume whole grain fibers, they go to work manufacturing short-chain fatty acids. You can think of these as vital energy packets that directly feed the cells of your gut wall, keeping your physical defenses incredibly strong. When a healthy person unnecessarily adopts a gluten-free diet, they accidentally cut off this food supply. Without those tough, complex fibers, the population of helpful, defensive bacteria drops rapidly, starving the ecosystem. For a healthy digestive system, the complex proteins and fibers in whole grains are not an enemy to be avoided. They are essential deliveries of prebiotic fuel required to maintain a robust, highly defended internal ecosystem. There is an additional metabolic risk to this dietary trend. When people eliminate whole grains, they typically replace them with highly processed, commercial gluten-free substitute foods. This chart shows what scientists call the carbohydrate quality index. It measures how fast different foods release sugar into your blood. On the left, the slow, steady curve represents natural whole grains, which use their dense fiber networks to pace digestion. On the right, the rapid, violent spike represents refined gluten-free substitutes, which lack fiber entirely and digest far too quickly. That massive rush of simple sugars places extreme stress on your body's processing pathways. It forces a massive surge of insulin to clean up the blood. Over time, this chronic metabolic strain leads to unhealthy weight gain and heavily increases the risk of type 2 diabetes. Even patients with celiac disease, who absolutely must restrict their diet, have to be incredibly careful when selecting their food. Because they miss out on standard fortified grains, they frequently develop deficits in crucial structural protectors like vitamin D, which they must actively supplement to keep their tight junction doors strong. Removing gluten is a life-saving rescue maneuver for individuals with specific malfunctioning immune pathways. But for a healthy individual, skipping the wheat means skipping the structural fiber. Eating a variety of high-quality whole grains is the best way to keep your internal ecosystem fed, your metabolic processing stable, and your natural defenses thriving.